Well, hey there, gang. It's Jim
And Christy.
Jacobus with Your Marriage Matters podcast number 141. And, gang, we're wrapping up a whole month of I Am Not the Enemy. And if you go back to all of the podcasts we've done this month, we've given you several different ideas about how to deal with challenges, how to deal with conflict, how to deal with out problems and struggles. We've given you mindsets and strategies. And so we wanted to wrap this one up. Again, we apologize. We had hoped to have Ben and Megan Coleman on. Unfortunately, their schedules did not allow. It's a really busy month for them. They got a lot going on. And we were busy too. I mean, it's not all their fault. Part of it's because we've been busy. But that said, we wanted to talk about today, if I'm not the enemy, then what am I? Okay. If I'm not the enemy and we're struggling, then what am I? And we're both going to give you an approach to this. And maybe I love yours. It's roommate, teammate, soulmate. And I'm going to talk about I've got your back, I've got shoulder to shoulder and face to face. Why don't you start off though and walk everybody through the whole idea that we are we're several things to each other. But first thing is we're roommates, teammates, and soulmates. And roommates may be where a lot of problems come in.
Right. Right. I think the thing that comes with being a roommate is we have to share space together, and we are Jim and Christy Jacobus, so we have to be in the same, in our case, 430 square feet. So there becomes roles and responsibilities around the house, expectations about what our space looks like, and that being in a roommate situation causes a lot of challenges with couples, because they're trying to kind of say, how does our space best represent us?
Right.
And I've oftentimes wanted for couples that their space becomes an area that's safe and nurturing and loving, and whatever it is they've agreed to do is a place that they go to retreat from the world. I think one of the things that being in an RV has given us an opportunity that we didn't have when we were in a 3,000 square foot house was we get to use not just our house, but outside and nature and everything, but we still have to share roles and responsibilities around here. We have to keep the place a certain way. We want to make sure that this place, it represents us to people as they come over or as they see and hear about our travels and everything. So when you're a roommate, you have a responsibility to your partner to work to have the home that you want, work to have the situation that you want. Being a roommate too means shared responsibilities around the place. You tend to keep the outside done. I tend to want to do more of the inside stuff, which means you get to do things like flush the black tanks. And for those of you who don't know what RV living deals with,
it's disgusting.
That is cleaning the toilets outside. So I'll just leave it at that and just use your imagination.
And it's not like it can't be done. Right. I mean, it has to be done on a regular basis.
And sometimes with our couples, when they're struggling with this, when they're struggling with those roommate types, surface level things, what we'll do is we'll come up with some problem solving skills for them to do and say, how are you going to negotiate? Like we just did. You do the outside, I do the inside. We do things based on what we like and what we don't like to do.
Right.
We might hire some things out that we don't feel like we want to spend the time or expertise doing.
Right.
So there's ways when you're a roommate and you're sharing this space together. And in our case, it's just us and a sweet yellow lab. But some of you out there are sharing roommate responsibilities with other people. Maybe they're extended family members or kids.
Yeah.
Yes. So the concept of roommate is getting on the same page about how you want your home to be.
Yeah. And that can be such a struggle because if you grew up in two completely different households where expectations were different, then we come to our new household, Team Jacobus household, 35 years ago plus, believing that, well, everybody does this.
Right.
Doesn't everybody do it this way? Well, no, not everybody does it that way. I came from a house where we did it this way. Right. And you're like going, well, your parents must have been nuts. No, they were not nuts. Matter of fact, nor were your parents. But what we really encourage you is to negotiate how we're going to do this together.
Right, right.
What do we
And
want Team Jacobus's house to look like?
mhm,
And there, I guarantee you, gang, in every case, if you have the humility to do it, you can look at things that your spouse's home did and go, actually, I like that better.
right.
And there's certain things that happen around my house I don't like, and I don't want to do that.
Mhm.
So you can bring the best of your two households together and get rid of the worst of the two households and actually have a better team
Mhm.
Jacobus or your
Right,
team household than either one of you had at the address you grew up at. So
right,
I love this whole idea that first thing we have to do is we got to be decent roommates
right.
together.
And think about it, because in most cases, I didn't realize it till the other day when I was talking with couples, because we were thinking about writing some examples for people as they're moving in together, or when they're getting married and they're going to be roommates. Some examples of ways that you can navigate some of the difficulties, like we just said. How do you split chores and responsibilities? But one of the things when it comes to roommates is I've never lived by myself. I've never not had somebody that I'm living with. And I've had lots of roommates. And I think you learn how to share space together.
Yeah.
And that needs to sometimes be navigated. So remember the concept of you're someone's roommate. The second thing is teammates. And we spend a lot of time on how do we become the best teammates.
Yeah.
Now, once again, there might be other members on your team, especially if you have children, other people who you're in your what you consider your circle or your home. And so, but us being teammates and being on the same page means a lot of times that we have to do what's best for the team and not what's best for the individual. And that can impact a lot of different
Oh,
things in our
100%.
life.
Yeah.
Like, how do we handle money? You might want to spend money on something that I think is a waste of time or stuff. So we have to do what's in the best interest of the team rather than the individuals. There was a funny joke. There's not an I in team, and what was the response that Kobe Bryant said?
Uh,
But there is me, so in team. So
there's a me in team.
yeah, so sometimes the thing about teammates that can be challenging is what we talked about most of the month is I'm not the enemy. So getting on the same page, using some skills and abilities like we've talked about to kind of get us putting the team first, not
Yeah.
the individual needs. We are wired for connection. We're wired for being with other people, but we also still have at our basic core our own individual thoughts and desires. And that can be hard. That can be hard. And sometimes I have to tell my couples, I want you to be sacrificial and do what's in the best interest of your partner.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to be selfish and take care of your own self and your self needs. And that doesn't mean I don't take care of, what's in the best interest of us, but I still have to do the things that I know is best for my own health. And nobody will blame you if you say, look, I need to go and make sure I'm eating healthy and working out
Hmm.
and taking care of me. So being a good teammate is not just taking care of the other person, but it's also taking care of yourself.
Yeah. And, I mean, babe, I've got a bit of a history playing team sports in my
Mm-hmm.
life. Even now playing pickleball in doubles and things like that. I've always felt like the best teams were the teams where there was a great balance between everybody had a shared vision. Everybody did what was in the best interest of the team.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody was pulling in the same direction. We all had the same mindset. That's what coaches do is they get everybody together. But at the same time, everybody on the team wanted to make sure that every individual got what they want as well.
Exactly.
And so I think when we talk about Team Jacobus, yes, we focus on what's in the best interest of the team. But I think we both do a great job of making sure that the other one feels loved, is taken care of, is supported, is encouraged. We're a student of each other. We're a student of marriage. And so I think all of those things become a part of building a great team as well as being a great teammate, is that we both care about where the team's going, but we both care about each other at the same
Mm-hmm.
time.
And the third thing is soulmate. And sometimes people make fun of that word or it feels kind of too fluffy. But I think what it's best described about is there are parts of our relationship that are no one else is privy to,
Yeah.
that it's totally saved for your spouse. A lot of times that's topics related to intimacy and sex and physical attraction and everything. And that's the person who really knows you and loves you. And sometimes that's where I see couples struggle sometimes with the soulmate
Yeah.
thing. This person has to speak for me if I can't speak for myself. They have to know me so well, and love me in spite of all the things that I'm challenged with.
Yeah.
So soulmate can be probably the one that's the most difficult to talk about, especially if there's challenges in that arena, especially if you do feel lonely in your relationship.
Yeah, it just dawned on me when you were saying all of that, and I've never thought about this before. It just happened when you were talking about that. People are always saying, "Well, I'm looking for my soulmate. I want to meet my soulmate. I want to, I've met my soulmate. I mean, she's
Hmm.
it, he's it, and everything." I want to go. No, you haven't, because that doesn't happen. We become soulmates.
Hmm.
You and I have become each other's soulmate through the years, through all the
Through
hard
the
work,
hard
through all the
work.
dedication, through
Hmm.
all the commitment, through all the ups and downs, through all the I'm here no matter what. I mean, that leads to soulmates. And I told you the other day, and I don't want anybody out there to go, oh, good God, y'all just shut up. I love you more now than I've ever loved you before. And I don't know how that's even possible, knowing how much I've loved you in the past. And I believe you feel the same way. And I fully expect to love you more tomorrow than I do today, because of all those things you talked about. We've become soulmates, and by the way, gang, if you're pursuing a soulmate, you absolutely should pursue that, but understand you're not going to marry that. You're going to become that, through all these things that we talked about and commitment to your marriage. So
Yeah.
that's pretty good stuff right there, by the way.
And one of the things, and I'm glad you pointed that out, because my mother had shared this uh, quick story, um, about how she saw somebody who had a new engagement ring, and it was beautiful and new and flashy. This is not a true story. This is actually a story that was shared on Facebook, of all things. And the other person looked down at her own ring and said, "Oh my gosh, it's been through years of diaper changes and meals and fixing food and doing
Mm,
laundry and keeping up with that." And sometimes the new and flashy is fun for that season of your life, but sometimes there's gratitude
right.
and appreciation for those years of commitment and years of developing your soulmate. So I like that a lot.
Yeah. And again, I loved our early days together. We have great memories of that. We've done some crazy things together. And again, I wouldn't want to miss any of that, but I wouldn't trade any of that for what we have
Right.
today. I
Right.
mean,
The years
this
together.
is far better than that ever. As good as that was, this is even better.
Right.
So it's worth it. Worth all the hard work.
Okay, so you want to share with them?
Yeah, so Chrissy teaches that in a lot of our workshops, and again, I love it. I think that's such good stuff. One of the things that we also teach in our workshops is that we find ourselves in three different positions in our relationship, and one of those is back to back, in our relationship. And if you're a former military or you're law enforcement, first thing, thank you for your service.
Exactly.
Neither one of us have ever had that privilege, and so we're very thankful for you and what you do. But when somebody says, "I've got your six," all right, what that means is that as Christy's moving forward in life, I've got her six. I mean, I'm watching for anything behind her that might sneak up on her, might cause harm to her. I'm protective of her. She's got everything out here in this level that she's keeping her eyes on, but I've got everything. I've got her back. I'm watching for anything that might sneak up on her, and I'm the one person that she can trust to fully watch that. I'm not former military or LEO or anything like that, but I do know the brotherhood and sisterhood that's formed by having people that that you're in combat with, and we're not. This does not equate to that. Would never want to belittle that by acting like our marriage is the same, but the concept's the same in that there's nothing I wouldn't do for her. There's nothing I wouldn't um, uh, share. Give up. I give up my life for her, but that's what it required. And so that's the first position I take up is I've got her back and she's got mine, and we're both watching out for things that might be a threat to each other. The second one is one that we spend so much time talking about, and you see us right now, shoulder to
Mhm.
shoulder, meaning that as life comes at us, all these things we talked about in last week's podcast, internal, external struggles, anything life wants to deal us and everything, we're going to go at it shoulder to shoulder, not her going, well, good luck with that, babe. Hope that comes to fruition for you. No, we're shoulder to shoulder, and gang, I think one of the best points in our marriage was when I realized we were better together than I could ever be by myself. And I suffered from being arrogant, not respecting Christy's gifts and skills and everything. And the moment that I realized that God blessed me with somebody with amazing gifts and skills, and began to take the point of, look, if we go at this together between your head and mine, we're far better than my head or your head by themselves. As they say, the total is better than the sum of the parts. And so we face life shoulder to shoulder, and that's our Team Jacobus approach. And then the last one, I think, is really important too. And I've always described it as, when you're face to face, and that represents intimacy. It represents prayer. It represents all different kinds of things. But you know what dawned on me when we were talking about doing this particular episode is it gives me the opportunity to look into the face of the one person that I know uh, and love more than anything in the world, and the one person where I'm free to be who I am, knowing that you will accept me as I am. And that is such a blessing that I think too many couples never go through all of the hard stuff enough to realize how fortunate they are. And so I think that third space where we're literally face to face and we're intimate and we're transparent and we're blessed and we can literally look into the eyes of the person that we love and that we know loves us unconditionally is the coolest thing on the planet. And so again, back to back, shoulder to shoulder, face to face. We teach this a lot in our workshops, and maybe I just love that those pictures, and I love it when we show people that. Although Chrissy gets a little embarrassed when I do the face to face thing and throw a leg over her shoulder or something like that. I wish I actually could do that, but I can't. So, anyway, what are your thoughts about that?
Well, I think there's so many things that when you were describing all of those that people need to take into responsibility and take into consideration because we do have multiple roles that we play and
Yeah.
multiple responsibilities. I I want us to be on the same team, shoulder to shoulder, journeying through life together. I want us to be able to look out for the other person, take care of the other person, and kind of look at things that they might not see because our vision is probably different than theirs. And then, of course, the face to face and looking into the eyes of your partner and what is it I've heard before? I want to be able to know your side, to listen to you so well I can see into your soul.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think that one is really important as well.
Yeah, and
So,
it just dawned on me too as you were saying that. Gang, we moved into a fifth wheel, 430 square feet, full time RV almost 2 years ago, and it is actually it's improved our relationship. It's
mm-hmm.
and not by a
Okay.
little bit, by a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what the reason I could, just as we were saying that, I could attribute it to is that it would bring out the worst in you if you had it, but I think it's brought out the best in us when it comes to I've got your back,
Mm-hmm.
we're shoulder to shoulder, and face to face, we're better than we've ever been. So I'm not saying you need to go buy an RV and go full time, although if that's what it took for you to experience what we've been blessed to experience, I would go do it.
Mm-hmm.
But there's got to be a version of that you could do where you become the best team you can possibly be. You've got your spouse's back. You know they've got yours. You know that no matter what comes your way, you're going to handle it shoulder to shoulder, and that you're going to have that kind of relationship that God intended when you're face to face and looking into each other's eyes and hearts and souls. That's what we want for you. And gang, there's nothing better than that. That's what God intended it to be. And again, that's why I'm going to say this. That's why our marriage matters.
Mm-hmm.
Is because as we've learned those things together, we can share with others, and it's why your marriage matters because your kids are watching, Your family's watching, your community's watching, your church is watching, your work is watching. Everybody's watching to find out what your marriage is all about. And we want you to have the marriage that you dreamed of when you said I do. That, vibrant, healthy marriage that all of these podcasts and everything we do is all about. And babe, we talk about these things, roommate, teammate, soulmate, back to back, shoulder to shoulder, face to face. There's nobody on this planet I would have ever dreamed of doing this with other than you. I love you. I appreciate you. And I'm so glad you're my teammate. I love you.
I love you too.
You guys have a great week out there. If you get a chance, take a few moments. Let me pop this up here real quick. Share, like, subscribe, wherever you get the podcast. We'd love you to join us on a regular basis, and we appreciate you very much. God bless you guys. Have a great week out there. We'll see you next week, gang. Take care.